This is a fictional narrative account, created exclusively for entertainment purposes. They saw her every day, and still, they never really saw her. A woman passed through rooms, hallways, and conversations as if she were made of air. And according to some versions, that silence around her would eventually become the reason everything changed. What you are about to hear is a fictional narrative account, reconstructed from unverified versions and interpretations, created exclusively for entertainment purposes. The complete truth may never have been fully known. According to reports, her name was Elena, not because it mattered to anyone around her, but because every story needs a name. Elena was not loud. She did not demand attention. She did not interrupt conversations or force her presence, and perhaps that was exactly why she was ignored. Some versions suggest she worked in an environment where voices competed constantly, where those who spoke the loudest were noticed first, where silence was mistaken for weakness. None of this was ever confirmed. What is known is only what was later told. Elena arrived early every day. She left late. She completed tasks that others avoided. She fixed problems quietly, without drawing attention to herself. And still, when decisions were made, her name was never mentioned. According to some accounts, meetings happened as if she were not in the room. Ideas she shared were met with silence, only to be praised moments later when repeated by someone else. Nothing about this was ever officially documented, but different versions describe the same pattern. Elena existed in the background. At first, she told herself it didn't matter. That effort would eventually be seen. That consistency would speak louder than words. But time passed. Weeks, months, years, and nothing changed. According to reports, she began to notice small details, how conversations stopped when she entered, how invitations were forgotten, how her absence was never questioned. She was not disliked. She was simply overlooked and being ignored. According to some versions, hurt more than open rejection. Outside of work, the pattern continued. Friends spoke over her. Family finished her sentences. Strangers looked past her as if she were part of the scenery. None of this was ever proven, but the repetition was hard to ignore. Elena learned how to shrink herself, how to speak less, how to take up as little space as possible, not because she wanted to, but because it seemed expected. According to some accounts, there were nights when she replayed conversations in her mind, wondering what she could have said differently, what she could have done to be noticed. She blamed herself. She thought maybe she wasn't interesting enough, or confident enough, or important enough. The world never corrected her. Then came the day that, according to some versions, marked the beginning of the shift. It was an ordinary day, nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic. Elena spoke during a meeting, not loudly, not forcefully. She simply shared an idea. No one reacted. The conversation moved on as if she had said nothing, and something inside her went quiet. Not angry, not emotional, just clear. According to later accounts, that was the moment she stopped trying to be seen by others. Not because she gave up, but because she realized something important. No one was ignoring her by accident. They were doing it because she allowed it. This realization did not change her overnight. There was no confrontation, no sudden confidence, just a decision, a quiet one. According to some versions, Elena stopped volunteering explanations, stopped justifying herself, stopped filling silences meant for others. She began observing instead, listening, learning. People revealed more than they realized when they thought she wasn't paying attention. She noticed who took credit, who avoided responsibility, who spoke confidently, without substance, and slowly, without announcing it. Elena began preparing for what exactly? No one knew, not even her. But something had shifted, and while everyone around her continued treating her as invisible, they had no idea what was coming. According to some versions, the days after that meeting looked exactly the same on the surface. Elena showed up. She did her work. She spoke when asked, and once again, most people barely noticed. But something underneath had changed. She was no longer waiting to be included. She was watching. According to reports, Elena began to pay attention to patterns she had ignored before. Who spoke first? Who repeated others' ideas? Who took credit when no one objected? None of this was ever documented. What is known is only what was later told. She noticed how confidence was often mistaken for competence, how volume replaced substance, how certainty mattered more than accuracy. And she noticed something else. No one expected anything from her. That invisibility, once painful, had become useful. According to some versions, Elena stopped correcting people publicly, stopped raising her hand, stopped offering solutions in open conversations. Instead, she started solving problems quietly, not for recognition, not for praise, but to understand the system. She documented everything: processes, failures, gaps others overlooked. When something broke, she fixed it. When something failed, she learned why, and she kept record. According to reports, people began relying on outcomes without knowing who created them. Things worked better. Mistakes decreased. No one asked how. They simply assumed things had always been that way. Outside of work, Elena changed too. She spoke less, but more deliberately. She listened without reacting. She stopped explaining herself to people who never listened anyway. Some versions suggest this confused those around her. They were used to her filling silence. Now silence filled them instead. None of this was ever proven, but reactions changed. People leaned in when she spoke, not because she demanded attention, but because she no longer chased it. According to later accounts, an unexpected opportunity appeared during a moment no one thought mattered. A problem surfaced, one others avoided. It wasn't dramatic, just complicated enough to be ignored. Elena noticed it immediately. She didn't announce what she was doing. She didn't ask for permission. She worked on it quietly. Days passed, then weeks, and according to reports, the issue disappeared. No announcement, no email, no celebration, just results. Someone asked how it had been solved. No one answered, because no one knew. According to some versions, that was when Elena was finally noticed, not as a voice, but as a presence. People started pausing when she entered a room, looking toward her without realizing why. Not admiration, curiosity. Something was different. Still, Elena didn't rush. She knew attention was fragile, temporary. She continued preparing, learning what mattered, learning who mattered, and learning when silence was more powerful than words. According to later accounts, when the moment finally came, it didn't look like a breakthrough. It looked like a simple question, one decision, one quiet moment, where everything aligned. And when Elena finally spoke, truly spoke, no one ignored her. According to some versions, the moment everyone remembers did not arrive with noise. There was no announcement, no dramatic confrontation. It arrived quietly. Elena was in the room when a decision had to be made. One of those moments where uncertainty filled the air, and people spoke, just to hear themselves speak. Different opinions, confident tones, no clear direction. And for the first time, someone looked at her and asked, "What do you think?" According to later accounts, the room went still, not because Elena was important, but because she had never been asked before. She didn't rush to answer. She didn't raise her voice. She spoke calmly. She explained what had been happening behind the scenes, what had been failing, what had been working. Not opinions, observation, not guesses, patterns. She didn't criticize anyone. She didn't defend herself. She simply connected the dots. According to some versions, people listened differently this time, not because she spoke louder, but because what she said made sense. The conversation shifted. Questions followed, not dismissive ones, curious ones. For the first time, Elena wasn't filling space, she was guiding it. Nothing was decided immediately. No applause followed. But when the meeting ended, something had changed. People remembered what she said. According to reports, her name started appearing in conversations where it never had before. Not as an afterthought, as a reference. When problems came up, someone would say, "Ask Elena," quietly, naturally. No announcement was made. No title changed overnight. But her presence was no longer invisible. Outside of work, the shift continued. Elena stopped forcing herself into spaces that never welcomed her. She chose where to be, who to listen to. Some versions suggest people reacted strangely to this change. They were used to her availability. Now it had limits. She wasn't cold. She wasn't distant. She was intentional. According to later accounts, those who once spoke over her began pausing when she spoke, not out of fear, out of respect. And the most surprising part, Elena didn't feel the need to prove anything anymore. Being ignored had taught her something essential. Attention given by force never lasts. What changed everything wasn't recognition. It was alignment. She knew who she was, what she offered, and what she would no longer accept. According to some versions, months later, someone who barely noticed her before tried to take credit for something she had built. And this time, Elena didn't stay silent. She corrected the record, calmly, clearly. No anger, no emotion, just facts. No one challenged her, because now, everyone knew. That moment didn't feel like revenge. It felt like closure. Elena didn't become famous. She didn't become untouchable. She became visible. And visibility, when earned quietly, cannot be taken away. According to later accounts, the people who once ignored her often wondered when exactly it happened, when she changed, when she became someone they listened to. The truth is simpler. She didn't change. She stopped disappearing. And that changed everything. If this story resonated with you, leave a like. Subscribe for more narrative stories like this one. And watch the next video on your screen now. See you in the next story.